great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. And as we kind of established before I got on, I caught you at the Savoy Live. It was our anniversary night with my wife, so it was great. It was a chance encounter, so it's great to meet you and actually catch up with you now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it was a fun night. So that evening I was playing with Cynthia Van Roden.
Yes.
She's a singer, and so you got to hear her. And some of the people on the album, on my album, which is all original music, is John Miles is on bass. He was there that night, and Byron Jones is on trumpet, and he's on a number of cuts also. So John's on about five or six cuts on the album, and then Byron's on about five cuts, I think. I think
So,
John's joining us now, actually.
okay. All right. So we can, all right. Yeah, we can wait. Well, let's just get into the album. So let's, from your perspective, and then we can have him hop in. A Walk in the
Yeah,
Park. Talk to me a little bit about putting this album together. Um, how long was it in the works, and how did it come about?
yeah. It's actually a stroll in the park,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. And then so I've been working on it probably all my life, actually, because one of the tunes was written in my parents' basement in 1971. Thunderstorm was rolling through, and I wrote a song called Thunderstorm, which was kind of based on a song by Graham Nash. It doesn't sound like it at all, but it was a tune called Dear Eloise, and I was just starting playing guitar and things, and so it was kind of a minor to minor chord kind of thing. Um, and so I played around with it, and I was in a band at that time called Synthesis, and a friend of mine heard it, and he goes, "Oh, let's like put that in 5/4 time." So I played it like that for a long time, and it was kind of an upbeat thing. And then a couple years ago, I reharmonized it completely, and I lowered the key a little bit, and had somebody else sing it. So it almost is unrecognizable, but the melody is the same. And the words are the same. Anyway, that's one of the first tunes that's on there, and then I wrote one of the tunes in college when it's called "The Heart of the Morning," and that's another one that was written in probably 72 or 3 or something like that. And I was in a band called Listen, and we did it in that band, and I wrote a lot of songs for the band actually at that time, but I kept one of them for this album. And then I've just been writing since then, tunes as I go. And, I've always kind of had a little bit of a folky influence. And as I've gone on, I studied with Doug Neat for a couple of years on classical guitar. And I studied with John Elliott who's a pretty famous teacher here in town for a number of years. Studied with him on uh, jazz uh, harmony, basically. So he was a piano player. He didn't really teach guitar. He basically taught jazz harmony, and then you had to figure out. I mean, he would write out the guitar parts, though. He knew guitar better than most guitar players I've ever known. Actually, he could write out an arrangement from beginning to end on for guitar out of his head. So not an easy thing to do if you're a piano player.
Yeah. Yeah. So John Miles is on the call here on the bass. How did you two hook up? How did you become a part of this project? How did it happen?
We've been playing together, gosh, I don't know, 15 years as a duet
Yeah,
and trio
yeah.
and quartet and quintet, depending on. Um, yeah, we started playing a duet. We were playing what, the Blue Nile at first, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and we've just been playing together for years. So, it was a natural for me to play, the some of the
Had a
tunes,
gig at the Nelson for about maybe what, 4 years or so.
something like that.
Yeah,
Somebody else was playing it for a while. Well, John, and wasn't there somebody
yeah,
before Nichols too? So
yeah,
I closed that one down with you.
yeah.
That was a sweet gig. I
We've
liked
closed
it.
down a lot of gigs together.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, no, they just changed the whole format. They quit having the restaurant open on Friday nights and had golf outside serving hot dogs and stuff. Wasn't that what the deal was? That was weird,
Yeah.
but whatever. It was a fun gig because
Yeah.
we got to play whatever, and nobody, people seem to like it no matter what we played. I have to say.
Yeah.
So you guys
So,
have, yeah,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I guess the concept for the album was to pick out like my favorite tunes because I never really recorded them, and then I wanted to treat each tune. I arranged them all with a friend of mine, Jeffrey Ruckman, helped me quite a bit, and helped me score them. But most of the ideas are mine in terms of like how I wanted to arrange them, and then just kind of I wanted to treat every song as its own little entity instead of like coming at it like I've got this band and we're going to do all these songs. I wanted to like treat each song like, okay, this one's got a little bit more country in it or something, and this one's got, so I had one of the tunes has banjo and jaw harp, and another tune has got harp, like a chromatic harmonica and guitar, bass, and drums. Another one's more of a band with horns and things, and so kind of just depending on the song, I really kind of wanted to go for it. Kind of like I think of like the Beatles, even though they're not jazz, but a lot of jazz albums kind of have the same kind of quality all the way through. And I kind of thought of them as more their own little entities, and that I wanted to have everyone express themselves, my little friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys have been at this for a while, and you're just another part of this rich history that Kansas City has in jazz. So, how long have you been performing and been around Kansas City?
I've been
Probably
around.
about like,
I've been
yeah,
around 40 years.
Okay.
Rick's
yeah.
long.
And when I first got here back in '78, I didn't really perform that much. And, I'm a slow learner. So it's taken me a while to get to where I, feel like I can play live and play jazz and play with people and stuff. But probably like been doing it pretty actively for like 15 or so years.
Yeah.
And a lot has obviously changed in this town. What has been the best evolution of this town as I mean, as musicians, is your plate pretty full? How do you feel about the scene?
Hmm.
Uh, we we have, a few gigs a month, maybe two or three or something like that. It's okay, I mean, when I was in rock bands, long, like in college and stuff, we would get a gig for a week, I know John had that experience too. It's not a great scene, like disco came in and destroyed the music scene, and uh, uh, records, and you know, it's just like live music is not what it used to be by any means. I mean, you could go when I first got here, you could hear a lot of music here in town, and I wouldn't say that it's nearly what it has been in the past
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. I was in depending on who booked the gig, it was either Jazz Plus or it was Row and the Brick House Band. And I don't remember which one of them booked the gig, but I don't even know if the Jazz Louisiana Kitchen is still out in Lee Summit. But we were the Saturday night band out there for months, if not years. So you just knew you had a gig Saturday night, and that's not true anymore. I think there are a lot of places that are trying to have live music, and that's great. And I think it's picking back up, but it's not what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, COVID shut it down again, like that was, I mean, seriously, like it hasn't really come back even pre-COVID, exactly. But it isn't terrible, like you can still get gigs. It's just, uh, I wouldn't want to try to, I mean, there's a few people in town who make a living playing music. I
Yeah,
mean, count them on one hand probably,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
yeah.
So, how did you decide to become a musician? How did this path evolve into who you are today?
I'll go first, I guess. I mean, I haven't had a choice. I like music and I keep trying to play it, and I like to express myself. It's my art. So, like there's kind of various aspects to my art, I guess. One of them would be writing songs, and or music. Um, and that's a different kind of a thing than, playing jazz, in town here, because you really it's hard to get a gig playing live, like original music. I mean, people do it, but you play for five people a lot of times and things. And so your better gigs are going to be playing standards or something like that, in jazz at least. And that's okay, I don't mind it, but I'd still like to have that other aspect to my work. So that's me anyway. John?
Yeah. Music has been a part of my life since elementary school. I started on the cello. Junior high, they needed bass players, so I changed over to the bass, and I've been playing bass. I majored in music in college, and I have day jobs. I've had day jobs, playing on weekends and whatnot. I retired for about 18 years, and this guy pulled me out of retirement. He has a what bass player reclamation plan or something like that. I don't know, but he's pulled a lot of bass players out of retirement and got them going again. So yeah, no, I've just kind of always done it. Sometimes more in the background than others, but and I write a little too. Not as prolific as Rick or as eclectic. He writes a little bit of everything. I think.
So I caught you live, and catching live music is quite an experience. It's something that really can be a formative moment for a lot of people. What was the first live jazz show that you guys ever saw that blew you away, or the first live concert that made you think, I want to do this with my life?
Oh, I can tell you. I was in a Luther League. I was in New York at a Luther League convention, and I was probably in 10th grade or something like that. And so we went as a group, and two gorgeous women girls, and a friend of mine and I. This one girl, she knew a preacher down in Harlem, and so we went down to Harlem. We pretty much avoided the whole convention thing, and we just, enjoyed New York. It was great. And so we went to Harlem one night, and this preacher took us out to a jazz club. And like being from Dubuque, Iowa, I don't think I had never heard jazz before, really, and I'm sitting there, and I swear, like my brain says that it was like people like of the stature of John Coltrane walking through the door, and just walking in and playing a solo and then walking out, and scat singers and people. I remember a whole lot about it, but I couldn't relate to the music hardly, except that I couldn't tap my foot to it, and it was blowing my mind. So that was it for me,
That's
man.
great. That's
Was that
great.
was that the one where Michael Brecker was one of the guys that walked in the door?
No, 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 no.
Wasn't that night? Oh,
No, no. That was a Byron story, and that was when we were in college.
oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
For me, my high school was very strong on music. We had one of the top orchestras in the state, which of course I also played in, and one of the top jazz bands. And even before I was in the high school jazz band, they had Clark Terry, Rich Madison. Oh gosh, more people than I can remember right now come in and play, and yeah, mind blowing. It was just like, oh yeah, and I don't think it was ever a conscious, I'm going to be a musician. It was just like, I'm a musician,
Yeah.
and I work on that premise. I'm also a visual artist too, but it's not as ever present and whatnot as music.
So, what do you like the best about playing in Kansas City or being in this town? What is it that you like the best about it?
Well, certainly it's better. It's a better music scene than Dubuque, Iowa,
At a minimum.
or anywhere in Iowa. And you're
Vermont's not
you're
bad.
from Iowa too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
So
from Iowa too.
Yeah.
I'm from Charles City. Like I say, it had a trio of orchestra director. There are many syllables in there. Band director and a choral director who were amazing. These guys just were so good, and brought all these great people in to inspire us and produce these great bands. What do I like about Kansas City is it's a it's a fairly eclectic palette, that listening palette. I think everybody kind of likes a little bit of everything. There are some people who just say I'm leaving when you start playing jazz and whatnot, and it's relatively laid back. There aren't you know uh, jazz Nazis out there. Well, there might be some, but for the most part, not. It's a wonderful environment to play, very accepting.
Yep. I would agree with that. And there are quite a few clubs, and you have to go out and seek it. I mean, it is a remarkable thing that you just showed up someplace, Joe, and there was jazz happening, and you like jazz. That's a rarity, in this town, I would say. You generally have to figure out where you want to go and go see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't just show up in your backyard. But but yeah, if you're intentional about it, you can see a lot of music here.
So at the end of the day, why do you guys love jazz?
Oh, I love it because you can express yourself. It's immediate. It does have structure. But you're playing with the structure, and I don't know, it's funny. Um, um,
Yeah, we laugh a lot.
yeah, it's just so great to, and when you're playing with other people like John here, we've had a relationship for a long time, playing together, and he's I mean, a better listener than I am. I kind of play around with stuff, and he kind of follows me, and I guess that's a little bit of I do listen to you too, John, but you're better at it than I am, and you're so good at following and things. So it's just a joy, It's like feels like this, thing that's just happening, it's just happening.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it challenges your ears, certainly challenges your head, challenges your heart.
Hmm.
Uh, it doesn't happen too often when I'm playing, but every once in a while, I'm greatly moved by something that happens. Um, and it's like every night you're building a different thing. We play the same tunes over and over again, but they're never exactly the same, and that's the fun of
No,
it. Is you
yeah.
lay down a little bit different foundation that night, and what comes up is a little different because of it. It's fun.
So A Stroll in the Park, it does have frivolity and it has obviously seriousness. You can feel it and sense it. It came out in March of 2024. If anyone out there wants to pick up this album in earnest in the proper way, catch you live, any of the good business for either of you combined and separately, where's the best place for them to go?
uh, Bandcamp.com, and my name is Rick Mareske. You can look it up that way, or you can look it up by A Stroll in the Park. So that's the best way to get the album if you're looking for that. If you want to listen to it, you can listen to it on there also before you purchase it. So that's a really good way to do it. If you're wanting to come see us sometime, we're with Cynthia. We play at Savoy every second Saturday, and we play at Meadowbrook every fourth Saturday. Is that right, John?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you might want
Meadowbrook.
to check because I think like next month's a little weird for the Meadowbrook. It's like a week later, right, than normal.
Okay.
I think it's
Yeah,
the 31st. Anyway,
but
I'm going to
it's
point out
Meadowbrook Market at Meadowbrook.
Market at
Okay,
Meadowbrook. Yeah, yeah.
cool.
There is one track on the CD, Orbis Ellipticus, that I play, but it says a different bass player plays it. Got to get that dig in there.
Noted.
There was a typo there.
Absolutely
Yeah.
noted. Rick and
Yeah.
John, it was so great to run into you. It's so great that we've reconvened here. thank you for your music. Thank you for taking time out and keep making Kansas City vibrant. It's wonderful, man.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you bet.